So understanding VUCA. It was coined, actually, by the US Army War College after the end of the Cold War. So in 1987, that was. And it was to describe that more complex world that was resulting from being after the Cold War. Kind of knew what that was and had done for a number of years, and then suddenly it wasn't a thing anymore. So now how do we plan for stuff? How do we understand how other countries are going to behave, and all of that interrelated bits of it. But since then, in the early 2000s, it's become more of a trendy managerial thing. And how do you catch it all up and say, it's all a bit crazy, we can't plan. And it can be tried to excuse you from doing all of that hard work of the planning and the strategy that you need to be able to make your organisation and your delivery team really successful. When I was doing this, I dug out the Harvard Business Review's guide for what VUCA is. So just as a refresher for you, the V is for volatility. And the challenge for that is that it's an unexpected or an unstable environment and maybe of an unknown duration. But it's not necessarily hard to understand. So an example would be the prices fluctuating after a supply has been taken offline by a natural disaster. Probably all felt a little bit like that in the last couple of years, maybe. A few things have knocked things out. And the approach that they suggest to that is that you build in slack and stockpile goods. But that's really expensive, so you're going to need to figure out exactly how risky it is to know what you need to stockpile, what you're going to lose, or what's essential to your delivery. The uncertainty is a bit different in that it's despite a lack of information, the event's basic cause and effect are known. So change is possible, but not a given. So example would be a customer's pending product launch. So you know that might change the marketplace, it might change how you need to react to it as an organisation. But it's not like someone invading another country, let's say. So the approach towards mitigating that would be to invest in information, collect it, interpret it, share it, and try and figure out how you deal with that uncertainty. The complexity is a situation that's got lots of interconnecting parts and variables. So loads of information is available, all predictable, so the example for this one that they give is that you are doing business in many countries with unique regulations and tariffs and cultural values. And so you might know one bit, but you don't know all of the rest of it. And how do you need to change and adapt in all of those countries? So their approach is to restructure, hire or develop specialists and build up resources to cope with the volume of dealing with all of that information so you can try and figure out what's going on. Ambiguity is where the cause and effect relationship is really unclear. So there's no precedence, there's no, and you're facing unknown unknowns, so you don't know what you don't know. This example that they give is moving into an immature or an emerging market or launching products outside of your core business. So if you're stepping into another area, you haven't got any idea how that's going to relate to your organisation and how you deal with it. And their approach to that is to experiment, understand cause and effect, and generate hypotheses and kind of test them and figure it out before you dive right in. The challenge to me with all of that theory and all of the stuff that I've been reading about is that it tackles them one at a time. So how do you deal with them when you've got more than one or all of them? What do you do? So as I was preparing the presentation, I was talking to a very expensive consultant that I know, and he said, well, it's all about the disruption theory, or the disruption index, sorry. And the advice that is from the disruption index is you tackle the one that is the worst, and it's the one that's going to have the most impact on whatever it is that you're doing. So you knock that one off first, and then you work your way through the rest of them. So how is VMO2 a VUCA organisation? And I have to apologise because the left of this looks a little bit messy and clunky. And I thought, well, actually, we're integrating two companies, VM and O2. We've got two parent companies, and we've merged into VMO2. It has been a bit messy. So Virgin Media O2 has got about 18,000 employees. We launched as a joint venture on the 1st of June 2021 and combined the largest and most reliable, apparently, mobile network with a broadband network offering with the fastest widely available broadband speeds. We're a customer-first organisation, although maybe one of you who hasn't got a brilliant service from us might not feel like that, but we are. And we bring a range of connectivity services together into one place with one clear mission to upgrade the UK. So as I said, we're the corporate brand of the 50-50 joint venture between those parent companies, and we're one of the UK's largest businesses. We've got 45.8 million UK connections across broadband, mobile, TV and home phone. And it covers a network that covers 99% of the nation's population. With 4G and more than 50% of the nation's population with 5G services, I have to admit, not where my mum lives, which is a little bit frustrating. And in addition, we've switched on the next generation of 5G standalone network in 14 cities across the UK at the start of 2024. I'm not allowed to share with you how much we spend on projects per year or how many projects we do, but given that scale, you can figure out it's quite a lot. So the integration has been an interesting challenge. We've got two organisations, two tribes, different systems, different ways of working. O2 felt very much as more of a traditional telco, and VM was very product orientated. So put that together, and it's an interesting challenge. Telecoms, as you will know, is a fast-changing, highly competitive market. Technology is moving faster and faster, and you as customers are expecting more and more. And when we first stood up the new organisation, our directive was to continue as normal. What you did yesterday, you need to do tomorrow. Like, okay. But what happens when the project you're working on needs something from the other side of the team? You started as a VM project and you now need something from the O2 project. How does that work? Because we were working with totally different and totally separate funding mechanisms. We had no framework that was consistent. We didn't have one. So then you're trying to figure out the way through. And it took quite a while for us to be talking to each other to realise that on that date in June, you instantly became 50% less good at your job because you knew 50% less than you needed to do the same job as you were doing. And that, of course, drove different behaviours amongst the teams. And it was only by talking and connecting with people that you realise that actually they're feeling just as insecure as you are. So then you start talking and building that community together. But like I said, no joint delivery framework, no common language and goals. VM had Cisco Jabber, O2 had Teams, so we thought, we'll get on to Teams, we'll do that straight away. But they put us on a different Teams. And we already had a third Teams with the Liberty Global organisation. So you're then flipping out of different bits to be able to talk to the people that you needed to talk to be able to do your job. It was literally the stuff of nightmares.